Remember Mephisto? You know, the character that, according to the whole world, minus Taylor, I might add, would show up in one division. And then he didn't. And everybody got mad. Now we have the same thing going on. I mean, we're all 100% convinced Kang is going to show up next week in the season finale of Loki, right? Well, he may show up, but let's all agree not to get mad if he doesn't. Just be more like Taylor for the next few days, okay? Hello and welcome to the Review of Champions. It's time to talk Loki episode 5. With me are from the MCU's Bleeding Edge, Mr. Jeff Sloboda. We have all the way from Texas, we have Taylor.
Hey.
And from the great beyond, we have Mr. Lord Deathman.
Great to be here.
Yeah, I also share that feeling. Before we start, I'd like to ask you all to hit that like and subscribe button and maybe join our forum on Sakar, sakar.freeforums.net. Also, please make sure to also check out the YouTube channel of the MCU's Bleeding Edge. You will find a link in the description. Well, we're gonna talk spoilers now, so if you haven't seen the episode, go check it out first and then come back to the video. Jeff, start with you. What did you think about Loki episode 5?
You know what? I mean, let's be honest here. With like with the whole entirety of having watched Black Widow last night and everything, and having that kind of like sitting on me, and kind of like running through my head, it kind of overshadowed Loki a little bit for me for the first time in the series. Kind of like took me a step back from it. But to redirect, I mean, honestly, there's so many different elements to Loki episode 5 that I thought were outstanding and were interesting and fun and like just invigorating and energetic and classic and comic book orientated and and like Easter eggs. I mean, there's so much there that it's too much to even try to like honestly break down. It's too much, but basically for me, what I took out of it personally was the consistent reality and consistent premise for me that this is the best Disney Plus series we've gotten so far. It keeps trumping itself episode after episode and leaving us with cliffhangers, leaving us with, we don't know what the hell's going to happen next type scenarios and everything. And, as I guess just as like a basic comparison with like, for instance, Falcon and the Winter Soldier, I felt like it was a very static, street-orientated kind of Earth-based story where it was very like predictable. And with Loki, again, I mean, I don't know what's going on right now. Like, I don't know what happened at the end of the episode. I don't know what that castle was or whatever, and I don't really know what happens next. So, just like, hey, hats off to Marvel Studios for, as always, keeping us on our toes.
Well, I have a little tease for you all now. I may have something on that structure we see at the end of the episode later in Cannon Fodder. But moving on to Taylor. Taylor, episode 5 of Loki. Is it fresh on your mind?
Yes, it is still fresh on my mind. It was huge. It was an incredible episode. I want to point out a couple things. Marvel created one of the greatest mistakes that it's made in its history by not including the Thanos copter in Endgame. It corrected that by having a Thanos copter in this episode. So that was fantastic. And there were a million other Easter eggs in there. And I was looking at some of the stuff online. We saw way more than I saw. I didn't even notice most of them. I guess you got to watch it multiple times or go frame by frame or something. But I noticed the Red Skull's rocket was at one point was there. Of course, Frog Thor was there, and I fully admit did not expect Frog Thor, and yet he was there for a split second. And at first, I didn't recognize him either. At first, when I was first watching it and went by, I said, "What the heck was that?" And I just laughed it off and kept watching the episode. And then I saw online people saying it was Frog Thor, and I'm like, seriously? And I had to go back and look at it, and yep, that was Frog Thor. But the episode itself was fantastic. It was huge. It had all the Lokis interacting. You got to see how they were the same and how they were different. You had a big Loki fight. They had a Loki lair made out of an old weird bowling alley. The best acting of the series so far goes to Alligator Loki. He nailed every line. It was just fantastic, and he actually got thrown at someone in a fight. You can't beat that. He did his own stunts too, by the way, and he bit a Loki's hand off. So it just never ended. It was fantastic, and now of course, and then also bring it down here for a second. All the stuff going on back at the TVA with at first with Sylvie being tricked by I'll never remember her name. Renslayer, Ravonna Renslayer, being tricked by her at first, and Miss Minutes, and then pruning herself to go and find out what's at the end of time, and then coming up with the realization that she was able to enchant Eliath, I think is how they pronounce the monster's name. Yeah. And then of course they found Morbius. And Mobius wants to go back and tear down the TVA, and he's headed back there. So there's just a million things going on, just like Jeff said. And it was all executed extremely well. It wasn't too jumbled. It wasn't too crowded. It wasn't not too hard to follow or anything. It was just a great episode all around. And of course, it set up a huge finale. And I know we'll get to predictions and stuff later, but I have no idea what's going to happen.
Okay. Well, before I go to Lord Deathman, Jeff, you had a follow-up comment?
I just want to point out quickly, Taylor really stole my thunder because I forgot all about Alligator Loki, man. The MVP of the freaking episode, dude. Alligator Loki. The MVP was awesome. Every freaking time that they showed him, it was perfect. The comic timing of it and everything was perfect. Every time they dropped to Alligator Loki and did a little grunt with him or whatever, it fit perfectly into the scene, into the dialogue, everything. I mean, I swear to God, I don't want to get, too overboard here with this and whatnot, but I think that just to add to what Taylor said, and then we'll see what Lord Deathman has to say about this, but maybe he'll contradict all this. I don't know. But I mean, I feel I feel I don't see how anything went wrong in that episode.
Yeah, I totally agree. I love the episode. But my MVP was Richard E. Grant as Classic Loki. He was freaking awesome. But before I steal Lord Deathman's thunder, I quickly go to the Lord of Death. Take it away.
Well, I'm not under any pressure at all based on the reception from the panel here. But I have to say, I wholeheartedly agree. Each of these episodes, except for the one, Lamentus One, has topped itself. And this episode is no exception. The penultimate episode of Loki is aptly titled A Journey into Mystery. And it just says it all. It's another love letter from Marvel and Disney to comic book fans watching that episode, while also putting together something that's just really, really entertaining for common folk who are not as well versed. Great drama, great comedy that never undercuts the drama. And my mind was blown as I was watching the episode. It was movie quality, guys. I mean, I didn't really find that they missed a beat with anything. Special effects, set design, performances, production design, all of that stuff was just so on point. And I was just thrilled to have my Mobius and Loki dynamic back together again, to see that those guys had truly developed this friendship, because that's really the heart of the story for me. And I know a lot of people are looking at Sylvie as, you know, this new kind of rock star that's coming into the MCU. But the friendship and the brotherhood that you get with Loki and Mobius being two opposite ends of the spectrum, you get a folksy sort of detective lawman against this mischievous demigod paired together in. I mean, if you made like a Lethal Weapon style movie with Mobius and Loki, I would watch like all three, sequels in the trilogy. But all the Lokis presenting us with and I have to say, I don't know if everyone realizes what Disney has done here, but they've given you the multiverse very subtly, without a lot of fanfare. They're showing you the idea that there are multiple Lokis, that each of them come from a different timeline and thus a different universe. I really feel bad for DC right about now. And that's not a dig, but they have to do their multiverse stuff with Flash coming up, with the Flashpoint Paradox or whatever they're calling that movie now. But Marvel has really laid down the gauntlet with their introduction of time travel and tied it in so neatly with the multiverse. Just like Grandmaster, my MVP of the Loki squad was classic Loki. I mean, I'm not going to say that I was ready to burst into tears, but I really did feel that sense of, when you looked at those old Kirby reprints and you saw Loki in that semi-silly costume, being that old middle-aged curmudgeon, all of that, those feelings of like childlike wonder and magic sort of come back to you. And Richard E. Grant's performance is so good that there's just no way in this multiverse or any other that he should not show up again. They need to make it happen. If it's a solo Loki movie with Richard Grant in it, I don't know. I don't care how they get it done, but he's got to be back in something else, if not this series, in the next episode. And his arc in the one episode was just completely triumphant. It's kind of like a footnote on what Jack Kirby did. It's like, here's the end of that Loki's career. Here's what happened to him. And at the end of the day, he went out like a hero, professing love for his fellow Asgardians, for Asgard itself, and more importantly, for his brother. So, I was looking for Easter eggs. I started watching this episode like maybe 4 or 5 times, scrubbing the timeline. I even saw, I don't know if anyone else pointed this out in reviews or on the YouTubes or Twitters, but I even saw Darren Cross's yellow jacket helmet. I was like, what? Oh my God. Like, talk about self-referential, but in an incredibly good way. I just have nothing but good things to say about that episode of Loki. And I feel bad for anybody else who has to make superhero content on a serialized basis on a streaming channel, because, man, you've got a lot to live up to. I just don't know which way DC's going to take it. Are they just going to go super dark to fight the Marvel sort of fun and wonder engine? But yeah, A Journey into Mystery or Journey into Mystery gets high marks from me, and I can't wait for the finale.
Yeah, to me it was an incredible episode. I loved it from start to finish. I enjoyed the Easter eggs completely, and yeah, the Loki fight in the lair was amazing. I love the way that alligator Loki bit the hand of President Loki. It was completely crazy, and yeah, they enchanted a cloud, people. They enchanted a cloud to punch a hole in the end of time.
Yeah,
I mean, and we're all in awe of this. And I mean, some people even spotted Ronan's ship. I didn't, but apparently it's also in there. It's the Dark Aster. I have no words. I know I was very critical of the show a few weeks back, but they completely blew me away, those last 2 episodes, and I cannot wait what's going on in that final. Really, I think it's gonna be incredible, and everybody will be blown away by it. Taylor, you had a follow-up question, follow-up remark, and then I will go to Jeff.
Yeah, just to pile on, Marvel has brilliantly used these shows, Loki and WandaVision, to give the fans in live action some of the craziest stuff from the comic books that they could never do in the normal MCU universe. You know, in the other movies, there's no way they could do this, but they have found a way to give us some of this insane stuff, like a Loki who ran for president, an alligator Loki, a frog Loki, Wanda in the classic Scarlet Witch costume, Vision in his classic costume, the whole notion, which comes from the comics, of them living in the suburbs and having kids like they're a middle-class American family. They were able to put that into live action for us to see classic Loki in the ridiculous costume, but they were able to do it with a straight face and give that to the fans. So it's just an incredible love letter to the entire history of Marvel Comics.
Yeah, I agree. Jeff, you also had a follow-up comment? No?
Well, kudos to Taylor, because that was a really great, well put together comment. And you know, kind of like jumping off of what Lord Deathman said, I feel like what I'm wondering is, and like kind of like the question I'm posing to all of you would be kind of like, based off of watching these Disney Plus series that like we have, these 3 of them, do you feel like episodes like Lamentis are just like par to the course in a way, like where like you need them, kind of, you need episodes like episode 3 of Loki to pop up in all these series almost, just because it's just the way that like this type of you know, medium works in terms of like, you know, the whole episode to episode TV show deal, as opposed to like the films. Does anybody think that maybe there's any reality where, I don't want to say that they have to have filler episodes, because I don't feel like Lamentis was a filler episode, but I feel like there has to be these almost kind of like B-rated episodes, you know, where it's almost like, you know, world building and like character building and like you know, relationship building and stuff like that, that leads to episodes like episode 4 and 5.
Yeah, I think you're right. I mean, if you look at movies, they also sometimes take a breather. I think we all saw that this week, but that's on another show we are putting out later. But you need sometimes to slow down. Actually, I think, and we were all back on the IMDb boards back then, but I think my only critique with Age of Ultron was that it was so fast-paced that you never got a chance to sit down and think what is going on actually. And it's good that the shows, they have also those kind of episodes just to go into the depth a little bit more than they can do in action filled or grand finale episodes, or you know, you have to set up something and you have to finish something, and in between there's always a moment where you need to take a breather and add some depth to the show. And I think Lamentis did that with the remark about the people at the TVA being variants, and of course you get the great character stuff between Sylvie and Loki, which sets up the Nexus event that starts off the episode 4 and basically the finale of this season show. So yeah, I agree. Those episodes are sometimes needed, Jeff. I give the word to Lord Deathman. He raised his hand.
I just had a quick comment, or more of a follow-up on Lamentis 1. I know I was somewhat hard on that particular episode, but I'm officially revising my position and grade upwards for Lamentis 1. Now that I see it in the whole architecture of the show, it doesn't seem like a diversion now that I've seen episode 5 of the show. So really a good job across the board with all of these episodes. And again, episode 5, Journey into Mystery, is now my favorite episode of Loki, but not just of Loki, but of all Disney Plus Marvel so far. So they keep consistently topping themselves. And I wonder, is this going to be the case once we're into Hawkeye or She-Hulk? We certainly will see, because it seems like each of these shows is going to have a different flavor. But my last note on Journey is really that it's one of those episodes that made me think, as a comic book reader, since childhood, why is it that I'm so enamored of this particular medium? And showing me like a sort of geographical map of all of the different landmarks in my comic book collecting sort of history, really said, it's really about how wonderful and how escapist these stories can be. And they're perfectly capturing that with Loki. They're being endearing. They're not being overly dark. They're not making it farcical. They're not laughing at themselves. They're making it right there at this line where I'm comfortable as a comic book reader and someone who's just an aficionado of the medium. So really great work from those guys.
Agreed. Taylor, final comment.
Yeah, I'm just going to take the opportunity to talk about Lamentis. First of all, no one has ever heard me use the term filler episode because I do not believe in it. It does not exist. You can't hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. I'm just pointing out that was me that said filler
Oh,
episode.
It was Grandmaster who said that.
A lot of people said it, but I reject the entire concept of filler episodes. There are good episodes, there are bad episodes. There are no filler episodes. Lamentis was important. Lamentis, and just for like you said, sometimes you need to slow down a little bit, but Lamentis really wasn't a slowdown. It was just in a different location. But the purpose of Lamentis was Sylvie and Loki learning about each other, bonding, being forced to help each other, understanding each other's personalities in order to become a team that can go on to defeat the TVA or whatever they're going to do. Now, Marvel could have accomplished that by having them running and hiding through the corridors of the TVA or something, or in the Roxxon grocery store in the middle of a hurricane. They could have done it that way, but they chose instead to go big and do it on a moon that was about to be struck by another planet, and they had an entire sci-fi adventure disaster story around that important piece of the puzzle, which was the time needed for the two of them to become a team. So that's my last word on Lamentis.
Well, I think also that's our last word for now on this episode. We are also enthusiastic. I fear the ratings. I look forward to the ratings. Well, let's rate. Starting with, Taylor. I mean, I've never seen you so enthusiastic about any episode so far. So let's hear it. I expect high notes from you.
Yes, the speaker is cranked up to 11 out of 10 this time. We are doing a Spinal Tap. This one goes to 11 for this episode.
I thought so. Lord Deathman, may I have your rating?
Wow, it almost seems a disservice to have to rate such a perfect piece of modular entertainment. It really does. I'm struggling with this one, but I'm going to take the speakers all the way up to 13. This was an incredible episode. It was perfect. Kid Loki, Alligator Loki, Thor Frog, Boastful Loki, President Loki, all of it just coming together in this insane pylon of Marvel pop culture while still managing to tell a story and give you all of those artifacts as you're going along. It's just an incredible feat of television engineering, whatever you want to call it. I'm giving this one a 13 out of 10.
Wow. Well, Jeff, you are always in your ratings somewhat conservative. Let's hear if that's still the case.
Well, I mean, look, I'm not going to break the laws of physics when it comes to the 1 through 10 rating scale, like Taylor did and everything, and like Lord Deathman did and whatnot. But I will say this though, I got to give hats off here to this show that we have here this for this this weekend, because hey, I love it when we do the big 6-person group deal and everything and whatnot, and I love the cast of characters that we all put together. But I think that like when it comes to the connective tissue of having these type of like discussions and these type of dialogues and everything like amongst each other and whatnot as fans, I feel like in this like more sparse group, I feel like words carry more weight, and and it changes the dynamic in terms of like kind of reactions that and and comments that we end up actually dropping, like kind of in a way, like with the dynamic being different. And so like I like this. I like this. The whole bar thing is cool, like that we have going on here. But like I like the grouping that we have here. And so as far as like, Taylor broke the laws of the 1 through 10 scale for his rating. Lord Deathman is like re-rating episodes already that already happened and everything and whatnot, like going backwards in time to re-rate them and everything. Like, this is crazy, man. Like Loki episode 5 is rewriting like the rules of like podcast champions and stuff here. Like, no, look. I specifically dropped my 9.5 last weekend for episode 4 because I knew there was that like very strong potential that I'd have to go ahead and dig in my pocket and pull out that 10 spot, today. So like, here it is. I'm dropping it right now.
10 out of 10.
Outstanding.
I wholeheartedly agree, and I will rate the same number. This episode was a 10 out of 10. I will not go breaking the laws of physics, as Jeff so eloquently put it. But I'm saving that for the season finale, I hope. And I will give a reminder that I gave the Falcon and the Winter Soldier a 6.16 out of 10 in the Falcon and the Winter Soldier finale. So beat that. But you know what? I think it's time for our section called Cannon Fodder.
Cannon Fodder.
And in Cannon Fodder, we discuss fan theories, and the champions are going to decide whether they are going to buy, sell, or hold on those fan theories. Well, I found 3, and a few of them are really interesting. The first one I'm going to start off with, and I'm going straight to Lord Deathman with this, that the theory that the fans have come up with, that the person behind the TVA, it's a new character, and he's called Immortus.
Wow.
Or Deathman.
We're going there. Immortus.
Is the person behind the TVA, the person who has created this all to get his plans done, Immortus? Buy, sell, or hold?
I'm going to have to sell on that. I like the energy and the creativity coming out of the fandom. Immortus, for those who don't know in the audience, Immortus is an alias of Kang, a future iteration of Kang. So by proxy, you're kind of saying you think that Kang is behind it. It's still Kang all along, but they're repackaging it. And I sold it once, and I'm going to sell it again. This is a pass for me.
Jeff, buy, sell, or hold? Immortus is the man behind it all.
I've got to sell just because I am really, really, really black and white and like very kind of almost like, I don't know, I guess boring when it comes to this stuff. I'm really like rigid. Like I don't typically, believe in any of these, like really farcical kind of fan theories and whatnot. And as far as this goes, it's actually kind of interesting because on a personal note, yesterday I was watching that YouTuber that does the Marvel comics and the DC comics like on YouTube, and he reads them directly and talks about the comics and shows them and everything. Rob, I forget the name of his channel, but I was watching his Kang explanation, like Kang synopsis on like all of the different, like versions of Kang and everything. And that obviously became important to me because of this whole like crazy fan theory deal where like everybody is going crazy that Kang is going to be, in the next episode essentially. I mean, hey, Immortus is Kang.
Yeah, I know. It's a later version of Kang. I know. So you're gonna sell on this one.
Have to.
You have to. Taylor, buy, sell, or hold. It was Immortus all along.
Okay, I never heard of the Immortus version of Kang. I've heard of Kang, but I never heard of Immortus. But I'll go along with the other two guys on that one, and I'll sell.
Okay. Well, you heard it here first, fans. We're not buying that Immortus is behind the TVA. But then again, we all sold on Frog or Frogtor showing up. And, well, we got that wrong. But we will get to that next week. Time for fan theory number 2. And that one is about Loki. And Loki's future, actually. After all is said and done in this show, Loki will go back to his own timeline, live out his life the way he's supposed to, but now he will follow classic Loki's trick and project himself so he will survive the events of Infinity War. Thus, Loki being available for the future of the MCU. Jeff, buy, sell, or hold on the theory that Loki may survive Infinity War after all.
Wait a second. So he's going to go back in time.
Yeah, he's going back to his to the moment where he picked up the Tesseract and left.
Oh, okay.
And then he will live out his life as normal, but then he will do classic Loki's trick, as described in episode 5, project himself in such a way that Thanos believes he killed Loki, but he actually didn't, because Loki disguised himself as an inanimate object and etc. Floats through space.
Okay, I gotta sell it just because it seems like very like out there to me that would happen. I mean, I think it's very interesting to like try to plot the course of where variant Loki goes next, like after the finale. I think that for me, like one of my big question marks right now is like I'm not just thinking about the finale, but I have like an open spot there too, where like I'm thinking in my head like, where does season 2 go? Like how do they start season 2? Like what's season 2 episode 1 feel like? Like what are the characters? What's the cast? Like what's the setting? Like where does it go? It's interesting. It really is. It's interesting, and I know this is not like necessarily correlate perfectly, but hats off to Kate Herron for directing the series and everything, all the way through and whatnot. And I'm not that technically knowledgeable to where I would be able to really detect like a hardcore impact from a director on an episode basis or whatever. But I feel like with all the moving pieces and everything that like went down in episode 5 and everything we've dealt with all the way through the series, she obviously did something right.
Yeah. So sell again.
Yeah.
Okay. Taylor, buy, sell, or hold on the theory that Loki will go back to live out his life, but survive the events of Infinity War by projecting himself.
It's an interesting theory. It's actually a very clever theory, but I'm gonna have to sell. I don't think that's the direction Loki is heading for the future in the MCU. Just like Jeff said, the show is gonna go on for a while at least, and I think the rest of the MCU Phase 4 is going in its own direction. So I just don't think that's gonna work out. So I'll sell.
Or Deafman, buy, sell, or hold on this crazy fan theory.
Before I render the verdict, I do want to second what Jeff said with regards to giving Kate Herron a huge round of applause for pulling off something that I thought was going to be entirely impossible in terms of making an entire miniseries about a sociopath who died a few movies back. But yeah, great job there, guys. And I also want to give another plug. I've been listening to the Loki soundtrack, which was recently released on all sorts of streaming platforms. I think you can get it on Apple and Spotify and all of your favorites in terms of whatever your streaming poison is. Natalie Holt has really put together something special with this Loki soundtrack, the instrumental music there. So check it out if you have some time. But I'm going to have to issue the second shutout to the fandom for this round of Cannon Fodder with a hard sell. I like it just like Taylor does. It does really have this kind of symmetrical sort of romantic feeling for how things could end for Loki. But we know there's a season 2, and I doubt that they would try to tell us the story of season 2. That's kind of like a prediction of what would happen to him. I see Loki now. It was kind of hard to give up on sociopathic Loki, the evil guy who tears people's eyes out and wants to subjugate an entire realm. Now we're trading him for this guy that's had some personal growth, someone who's not quite good, but not quite bad either. I hate to use the sort of well-worn term anti-hero, but I guess that's the territory we're in with Loki. And that means that you could go anywhere with it. I see him now as this multi-dimensional actor. He's not limited to just conquering a realm. It could be space and time. It could be a multiverse. Who knows where this character could go? So nice try, fandom, but I don't think that Loki's story is going to end that way.
Yeah, you guys make sense. I actually really enjoyed this theory, but I also am not on the buying part of this scale. I'm more also of a seller on this one, but that's just a personal note. Jeff, before I move to the first theory, you had a follow-up?
Yeah, just coming off of what Deathman said, Natalie Holt, I think, has done a standout job. I think that honestly, I think that maybe like I can see how some fans may not have like paid that much attention to it, but I feel like the soundtrack, the music has been really like a standout thing, a feature for me in a lot of the episodes. I've really noticed it more than I did in some of the other shows. Maybe similar to WandaVision too. But also I feel like this is kind of unique to me. Like I never really thought about this until just now, based off of Taylor and you Grandmaster and Lord Deathman's comments. I wonder at this point if, like, as crazy as it sounds, in this short period of time, maybe Loki has actually like evolved to a point where he's at the same place that he was after Ragnarok and like all that, like at that same level of evolution, but just like forced in this like really short, time period to deal with like some serious, enormous, impactful realities, like in terms of potentially being pruned or killed or whatever, like not knowing what the hell's going on, and then like falling in love with like Sylvie, like, which is like literally like, I don't know, it might literally be like his biggest, like maybe it's like literally like his biggest connection he's ever had with anybody before for him, in a way.
Well, we'll just have to wait and see. Lord Deathman, quickly before I move to tier number 3.
Very quickly, I just wanted to say I hope everyone has considered the possibility that season 2 of Loki could be about another Loki.
Yeah.
I'll just leave that out there.
No, I think that's a distinct possibility. I mean, Tom Hiddleston has played his part in the MCU just like Scarlett Johansson has done. We're gonna talk about her on another show we're putting out later, but I think Tom Hiddleston is done the way she is, and passing on the
Great
torch.
connection. Great connection, Grandmaster. I've been waiting to like talk about that and drop that whole like comparison. Like it really is like a major, connection there.
Yeah. But we're not done with Cannon Fodder yet. I still have one theory to annoy Jeff with, but he can. Maybe I will soften him up on this one, and maybe we'll finally get a buy from him. And it's about the structure. The structure we see in the hole after they create in the void, and the fans. Well, one particular fan, but I really enjoyed this theory, and so I'm gonna use it. One of the fans said. The structure we see is the house of ideas, home to the characters then and now. And what that actually means, in other words, is that Marvel is going to break the fourth wall, and that Loki is going to meet the creators of the MCU. Taylor, I go to you first. Buy, sell, and hold. Marvel will use the House of Ideas to break the fourth wall.
Right, by meet the creators of the MCU, you're saying he's gonna.
What I understand is that the characters then and now are basically librarians of the whole Marvel catalog. They own the complete Marvel catalog, all the comic books. So the theory is that in the MCU, it will be a collection of all what happened before in the MCU. And basically, then and now are the creators of the MCU. And they live in the House of Ideas, which can be found in the structure, in the hole they created just now, after they killed Aliyah.
Okay. Well, I have no idea what's in that asshole that we saw. But I don't think it's that. So I'm gonna.
Okay. Jeff.
Well, I would love to just be like a good team member and everything, and just try to find a reason to buy this or whatever, But like the only way that's gonna happen is if you somehow conjure up a alcoholic beverage in front of me here on this bar so I can actually, increase my buzz a little bit maybe. Then I might think about it. But no, I got to sell on this. I don't see things going in that direction. I don't see things going to that depth in this series. Like it doesn't really, that's a little bit too hardcore for me.
Well, it is indeed, after all, something beyond the end of time. So, well, maybe Lord Deathman, with his comic book knowledge, will shed another light on this.
I wish I could. This is going to be a sell for me. I did hear this theory and I thought it was really entertaining. I liked, and I get where it's coming from. It's the idea that you are about to go to the house at the end of time and that you're about to meet the creator, that the person behind the TVA and all these multiverses is really somehow Jack and Stan, that you're going to stand before Kevin and you're going to see, you're literally in a fourth wall kind of way going to pull the curtain back and see all the producers of all of this. If this was another kind of series and Loki was another kind of character, I would, I might hold. I don't think this would ever be a strong buy for me, but no, I have to pass. So it looks like we're going to have a total shutout from the panel on all the fan theories.
Week in, week out. But we have been proven wrong before. I'll just remind you guys of Frog 4. But anyway. Well, that's, I'm sorry, fandom. You have to do better to convince our champions. I do my best to find those weird ass theories online, and well, they're a little bit too weird for everybody here.
Well, no, I certainly think you deserve a round of applause for slogging through all of the hundreds of theories that I saw between now and the previous episode. So you certainly have my appreciation and thanks there, Grandmaster.
Hey, you do a good job too. It's very entertaining. It really is. I mean, I may have sold on that on those theories, but I feel like they're relevant.
Yeah, I really enjoy reading them, or listening to them, and yeah, and Cannon Fodder is meant as a bit of fun, just to discuss some crazy fan theories, and yeah, well, we've been surprised that some of them actually became true. So, well, that is the end of our review. But since we had a trailer drop this week, we're gonna move on to trailer talk. And the trailer that they dropped this week was the trailer for What If, the new Disney Plus animated show for Marvel Studios. The first time they're going to do animated show. And they're going to start streaming that on August 11. So that's actually a month from now. That's pretty close. And well, we all saw the trailer. And I would like to give the word to Taylor first. And pun intended, by the way. Well, let's talk about the trailer. What did you think?
I thought it was great. The animation looks great. The little glimpses of what's going to be happening in the different episodes all look intriguing. It's just another way that Marvel has come up with to tell different stories within their vast universe and multiverse. What can I say? It looks like it's going to be an animated Twilight Zone alternate reality, just like the comics were, the What If comics. And I can't be more excited about it, especially since the MCU started, Marvel's, animation department has not been that great. They had a couple of direct-to-video DVDs came out early in the MCU that were pretty good, but most of the stuff on television, animated-wise, has not been, it's been average, put it that way. It hasn't been bad, but it's been average. And it's nice to see him stepping into that realm full force with making it, not MCU canon because it's alternate universe stuff, but making it, a full-fledged part of the MCU and using those same characters in alternate situation. And it's just another way, again, to bring another corner of the Marvel Comics history to the audience. And I'm really excited to start watching it.
Jeff.
Well, I feel like touching off of like what Taylor said, I think that there's really a major fan payoff with this series, with the fact that it brings us back to the classic, the peak of the MCU with Captain America and Iron Man and Infinity War and Endgame and everything, and and I feel like it takes us back to the Infinity Saga, which is always a positive thing for the fans. I mean, the fans love it, so I mean, this is going to be a major hit for the fans. I mean, they're going to just eat this up. And I feel like as far as the trailer goes, I mean, hey, I just watched it right before I came on here, and like I had to rush through it. I really like to see trailers like a couple times, like 2, 3, 4 times before I really kind of soak them in and kind of like pick up the details and stuff like that. I did miss some stuff during it, like I kind of turned my head here and there and didn't get everything, but I did like what I saw as far as like the pair ups and like the team ups and the collaborations with the characters and stuff like that. I thought that it was really like novel, like that it wasn't like it wasn't predictable at all where they went with things, like the direction of who they matched with who and like and all that. If anything, I felt like the pairings and like the groupings of like the different characters almost in a way are really surprising. Like, you wouldn't expect some of it, like, I mean, Tony Stark meets Michael B. Jordan's, Killmonger from like Black Panther.
But that one actually makes sense, right? I mean, Killmonger is an Afghanistan veteran, and Tony Stark gets hit by the grenade in Afghanistan. So Actually, that makes sense.
It does make sense, but when you don't dig that deep into it and you just look at it from face value, you're like, hey, that's Killmonger. He's in the desert. He's not in Black Panther. He's, you know what I mean? Like, you know.
Yeah,
so
I
like,
understand what you're saying.
Yeah, so like for me, I mean, there's other pairings too. I believe that I read this, and I believe I actually saw it in the trailer too. There's multiple versions of Doctor Strange in the show, in the series. There's gonna be more than there's gonna be like basically like almost, I don't know if it's gonna be multiverse, like like different characters, or if it's gonna be like a supreme Doctor Strange versus like a regular Doctor Strange.
Yeah, I have the feeling it's more like we're gonna get standalone episodes, but that's the way I feel. So you can have characters come show up in different episodes, but they're not. They don't have the same. The other episodes don't have any consequence for the episode they show up in.
Yes, of course. No,
Okay.
no, that's a good point. No, but like basically, I felt like, honestly, I feel like the energy of it was great. Just like Taylor pointed out, I think that like the look of it and everything and whatnot is great. I think it's very distinct. It looks different than the DC stuff. Like it has its own like look to it and everything. And hey, I mean, again, like from a fan service standpoint, it's great. They're throwing like Peggy Carter back in the mix and everything, like as like Captain Britain almost or whatever and everything. It's awesome. It's like exciting, and I love freaking the fact that they cast Jeffrey Wright to be Atu the Watcher. I mean, he's like literally like a monster actor.
And he has an amazing voice. Lord Deathman, what did you make of this trailer?
I loved it. I think the animation looks really high quality, very kinetic. And as someone who kind of came to animation a little late in the game, I wasn't like a childhood fan and watched all the Saturday morning cartoons and things like that. I just think this looks really sophisticated for a cartoon. And I think that this is really like esoteric in terms of comic book stuff. I think, all of us on this call are familiar with the concept of a what if, and taking it back to the comic books. What if was this kind of like, I don't want to call it a throwaway series, but it was a series where like, some of the issues you'd see on the stands and you'd be like, that sounds really awesome. Like, what if Wolverine had killed the Hulk? Or, what if Captain America had formed the Avengers? So forth. Some of them seem like really cool diversions, but then there are other ones like, what if Doctor Doom became a hero? So it like not every issue was for every person. So it felt like a series you could kind of dip in and out of based on whether that diversion meant something to you. And I kind of feel like the cartoon, I shouldn't call it a cartoon, I feel like the animated What If is going to work the same way. So I'm really excited for the series. A lot of the diversions I saw in the trailer made a lot of sense, and I'm really curious about them. Some of them, I'll be honest, I'm going to be like, wow, okay, T'Challa is going to join the Guardians of the Galaxy. And then there's other ones where I'm like, okay, Killmonger meets Tony Stark in Afghanistan. That like, okay, now I'm excited to see how that version of events plays out. But as for the quality of the trailer and raising my hype for the series, yeah, I would say it's all the way up there. I'm glad that they're giving us this type of a series that's in a different medium, brings all this great voice work together, and is unified under this idea. Honestly, what I really want and hope from this animation, from this cartoon, as I'll bravely call it, what I want to get out of it is that I hope that Kevin Feige and company see the merit in doing one-off what if movies in live action, because I think that would be an awesome sort of, like if you're running a phase like phase 5 or phase 6, parallel to that, if you could give us one or two of these what if type movies, I think that those would be neat diversions for casuals and for diehards as well. So really excited about it. And the trailer was great.
We do have the multiverse right now, so live action what ifs are a distinct possibility, of course. Yeah, I also enjoyed the trailer. I spotted the Ultron thing. What if Ultron managed to possess Vision's body? I think it will be. So yeah, that one was nice. I thought the guy with the head in the dish was Ant-Man, Scott Lang. I don't know.
Yeah, that was another weird one.
Yeah,
The head
I'm
guy.
not really sure. Yeah, I'm not too familiar with What If comics at all, but I love the fact that Marvel is moving in all directions and including animation. And yeah, the trailer did excite me for the show, and yeah, definitely will do a review series on it. And yeah, thoroughly enjoy it, hopefully. And I'm always in for alternative takes. Um, well, this will conclude our review of episode 5 of Loki. Before I finish, I would like to ask you all again to hit that subscribe button and notification bell on YouTube. Follow us on Twitter, like our Facebook page, and absolutely join our forum on Sakar. That way you will never have to miss us and we won't have to miss you. Thank you, and we'll see you next week for our review of episode 6, the season finale. Bye.